A couple of years ago, when I started this channel, one of the first videos which I did was titled "Should You Buy a Royal Enfield?" And this one is "Should You Buy an Interceptor?" Now, when you are in the market for a new motorcycle, there are two main things which you should consider. First is your own set of requirements, but also important is how the manufacturer has conceived their product, how the manufacturer has placed their motorcycle. That is also important to note. So for example, if you watch the advertisements of the Royal Enfield Interceptor and the Himalayan back to back, you can find the contrast and difference. So the problem happens when you buy an Interceptor and try to take it to the Himalayas. Not that it is impossible, but the comfort level which you get from the bike on such a terrain will not be as good as the Himalayan. And reversely, if you take the Himalayan just for a highway tour, for sure the Interceptor will be more comfortable, can help you do more speeds, and is more refined. So let's come back to the question, should you buy a Royal Enfield Interceptor? Well, there is no perfect answer to this question, but still, taking cues from the manufacturer's product placement and ownership reviews and my own experience, I would say you should buy the Interceptor if you want to enjoy riding this on roads which does not have much traffic like this. I mean, if you primarily use it to enjoy your rides, it will be good. And another thing is pillion comfort. If you want to have the most pillion comfort, don't buy this bike. I mean, for short city rides, depending on the pillion's height and weight, he or she may find it comfortable. For short ones, for long rides, I don't think anyone will be comfortable on this bike due to the raised exhaust and also the comfort of the seat which it provides. So single, solo rides, enjoying rides on good roads, on not much traffic, occasional weekend rides, touring on highways. I mean, it's good for touring because of the refinement that speeds can hold. It's good for touring, but then it will need some modes for long distance touring. For long tours, on 1 or 2 day tours, it would be better to have some modes depending on your physique, like maybe a tilted handlebar or a raised handlebar, or some have even changed the handlebar, but it just spoils the look of the bike. The seat, it's okay for, for occasional rides, day rides, it's okay, but maybe for long distance touring, you may want to add a layer of seat cover and foam. That would give you much more comfort. Although Royal Enfield solved the problem of vibration on this bike, the ergonomics is not as good as a Himalayan or a Bullet or a Thunderbird. It's not only because of the slightly committed riding posture, it has also got to do with some minor things, like for example, for most people find the reach of the handlebar a bit too much, but then it can be solved by either using a handlebar riser or by tilting the handlebar. Now let's talk about mileage. For a 650cc, this is having very decent mileage. Within the city, based on traffic conditions, you can get anywhere between 20 and 25. And on highways, again depending on your riding speed, you can get as good as 30 or 31. Now we can talk about the vibrations. Well, compared to the previous generation Royal Enfields, especially the Bullet and the Thunderbird, this thing does not vibrate. But then it's not like it's completely smooth. There is a 650 twin engine underneath you, and you will clearly feel that buzz on the handlebar at certain RPMs. Distracted from the review by the view. So there is a buzz on the handlebar. You will not feel it if you are wearing your riding glove, which is always recommended. Otherwise, the handlebar grip is not that comfy. You know, it has a sort of pattern on it, and if you grip it using your bare hands and ride it within the city for more than 30 minutes, then your palm can start to pain. But then you will get used to it, or you can use a comfortable grip over it. And then the suspension, well, again, compared to the Bullet, it's not, or the Himalayan, the suspension does not have that much travel. So it's not that it's very bad, it's good. You can ride it on slightly broken roads, no problem. But then for off-roading, maybe, I know you wouldn't consider this bike for that, especially with the tires and the suspension. Again, not that it cannot be done, but then that's not what this bike is built for. One thing about the ergonomics is that it's the placement of the foot pegs and the handlebar is such that you can very easily stand and ride this bike, unlike a Bullet. In a Bullet you could not do this, but it's very easy on this bike to stand and ride. It's very easy. Even though it doesn't have a Himalayan like posture, it's very easy to get up on bad sections and pass them. You must also understand that the amount which you pay for this bike all goes into that 650 twin engine and also the design of this bike. I mean, it's very well designed. It's compact. It's not that big except for that big 2 exhaust. Otherwise, the wheelbase is shorter than a normal Bullet. So right now I have installed a backrest from Sana, which also has provision for a top rack, and I've also installed this, which protects the pillion's feet or the heel of the shoes or whatever from touching the exhaust, and it also gives the pillion more comfort to get on the bike, because it gives more place for the feet to rest while getting on the bike. And I've also installed a Sana sun guard, because the official Royal Enfield accessories for the Interceptor, except the fly screen, are out of stock in most showrooms. In stop and go traffic, people have complained that the rider foot pegs interfere with their legs, but I have not faced such an issue. I don't think taller people will find this an issue. And also, this foot peg has a spring action like this, so it's not like. But then if you are not wearing proper pants or jeans, and if you're riding on a shorts, then maybe it can cause a problem. That's what I said before. It's better to be dressed well for riding this bike. Shoes and denims, or pants with at least hard material. And another thing is the heat management. Well, I felt the bike has very good heat management. I haven't faced any issues with the heat so far. I mean, once the bike runs, how hot the engine is, you don't feel it. And maybe since I have not used this much in stop and go traffic for more than 10 or 15 minutes, I don't know how hot the bike gets or how sluggish it performs, because some people have said that if you ride it in stop and go traffic, and if you lose the clutch for a longer period of time, if the engine temperature gets high, then the performance can get sluggish for some time until it starts moving again and gets cooled down again. So I have not experienced that. I have no problems with heat so far, thankfully. Only thing to take care is to make the rider and the pillion be careful and dress appropriately, so that their feet does not touch the engine and the exhaust when it's hot. The exhaust can get really hot. Now let's also talk about the weight of this bike. It weighs around 220 kilograms, and the weight is felt when you try to push it from a parking lot. It doesn't move as freely as your Bullet, or if you are coming from a lighter motorcycle, you will find you will take some time to get used to its weight. Make sure that you don't park it in an incline with the front facing downwards and you're done. You will need someone else's help to pull it out. I really wish this bike had alloy wheels, or if Royal Enfield provides them as an option in the future. Because one, spoke wheels have their advantages and alloy wheels have their disadvantages, but still, if you get a puncture on this bike, it's very difficult. I'm not an expert on motorcycles, but if you have any questions regarding the Interceptor, please feel free to ask in the comment section below. I think I have not missed any points. So I'll see you in the next one.